Right now, somewhere in your closet, there's a jacket you haven't worn in years. You keep it anyway. You're not sure why. And if you think clothing exists purely to keep you warm, you're about to find out you're wrong. The real answer is far stranger. Humans didn't start wearing clothes because they were cold. Not at first. The timeline doesn't add up. Something else happened first. Something buried in your DNA. Something that had nothing to do with temperature at all. Here's the strange part. Scientists didn't find the answer by digging up ancient fabric. Fabric rots. It disappears in a few hundred years, let alone 100,000. So how do you study something that no longer exists? You study a parasite instead. In 2003, a team led by geneticist Mark Stoneking looked at head lice and body lice. These are two separate species. Head lice live in your hair. Body lice live in clothing, only leaving to feed. And body lice can only survive if clothing exists. No clothes, no body lice. It's that simple. So Stoneking's team asked a simple question. When did body lice split off from head lice genetically? Because that split would mark the moment humans started wearing something regularly enough for a new parasite species to evolve around it. The answer surprised almost everyone. Somewhere between 83,000 and 170,000 years ago. That's roughly 100,000 years after modern humans first appeared. If clothing was only about staying warm, you'd expect it far earlier. Humans have always felt cold. So why the gap? Here's where it gets interesting. Around that same window, something else was happening. Humans were leaving Africa, migrating into colder climates, yes, but also developing something new. Symbolic thinking, ochre pigment, shell beads, personal ornamentation. The first hints of identity expressed outward, onto the body. Archaeologist Ian Gilligan has spent years studying this exact overlap. His research suggests clothing didn't spread because humans suddenly discovered cold weather existed. It spread because clothing became something else entirely. A canvas, a signal, a way to say something about who you were without saying a word. Think about that for a second. Before clothing, a body could only tell you one thing: hungry or fed, healthy or sick, young or old. But once humans wrapped hide and fur around themselves, deliberately, patterned, dyed, decorated, the body could suddenly say something entirely new. Status, group, belief, rank. Gilligan's work points to something counterintuitive. In the coldest environments, like Ice Age Europe, clothing shows up later than you'd expect for pure survival. But the moment it does appear, it's often decorated. Beads sewn in patterns, ochre-stained hides. This wasn't someone shivering and grabbing the nearest skin. This was intention. Why would intention matter more than warmth? Because your ancestors weren't just trying to survive the night. They were trying to survive each other. Anthropologist Olga Sofer studied the famous Venus figurines carved 30,000 years ago, tiny stone and ivory statues of the human body. Some of them show something unexpected: woven patterns across the torso, texture that doesn't match skin. Sofer argued these weren't nude figures at all. They were wearing something: netting, woven fiber, early textile carved in stone, thousands of years before anyone thought humans could weave. If she's right, that changes the story completely. Clothing wasn't a late invention that came after tools and fire and language. It was tangled up with all of it, worn not just on cold nights, but during rituals, during gatherings, during the moments humans needed to be seen a certain way by other humans. This is where the twist really lands. You might assume clothing is a barrier, something between you and the world, a layer of protection. But for your ancestors, it may have done the opposite. It opened something up. It let a stranger from another group glance at you and instantly understand something. This person belongs to us. This person holds this rank. This person is ready for this ritual. Clothing became a language before most languages existed. And once you see it that way, your closet starts to make a lot more sense. That jacket you never wear? You're not keeping it warm. You're keeping a version of yourself, the one who wore it to something that mattered. A first date, a funeral, a job interview that changed your life. You didn't need the fabric. You needed what the fabric said. Every time you get dressed in the morning, you're doing something your ancestors were doing 100,000 years ago, long before anyone worried about frostbite. You're choosing a signal, sending it out into a world full of strangers who will read your body before you say a single word to them. The scientists who study this call it costly signaling. The idea that spending time, effort, or resources on appearance only works as a signal because it's costly. Anyone can throw on rags. It takes intention to choose something specific. And intention is exactly what other humans have always been wired to notice. That's why a uniform changes how people treat you. That's why a wedding dress carries more weight than its fabric could ever explain. That's why humans, alone among all animals, will go hungry to save money for clothes they don't strictly need. You are not just dressing your body. You never were. You are dressing a message, one your ancestors started writing tens of thousands of years before the first sentence was ever spoken. Stitched into hide, painted with ochre, carved into stone figures small enough to hold in one hand. So tonight, when you pick out what to wear tomorrow, notice the moment. Notice the small decision happening in your mind, the one that isn't really about temperature at all. Because the jacket in your closet was never really about staying warm. It was always about staying seen.